Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears in their Week 8 matchup played November 1st, 2015. We're going to go over all the scores, and we're going to go over the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. Starting off in the first quarter, just about 4 minutes in, Robbie Gould hit a 55-yard field goal, and that put the Bears up 3-0. Then, with about 3.5 minutes left in the first quarter, the Bears would punt it. Marcus Shrells would return it 65 yards with some amazing moves, and Blair Walsh added the extra point, and it was 7-3 as the Vikings took the lead. Then in the second quarter, with about 9 minutes left before halftime, Blair Walsh hit a 43-yard field goal. That made it 10-3 Minnesota. But with less than a minute left before halftime, Jay Cutler found Alshon Jeffrey for a 21-yard touchdown. Gould added the extra point, and this game was tied up at 10 apiece heading into the locker rooms at halftime. So then in the third quarter, with about 8.5 minutes left in the third, Robbie Gould hit a 33-yard field goal, and that put the Bears up by 3 with the score 13-10. So now to the fourth quarter. With 13.5 minutes left to play, Blair Walsh hits a 48-yard field goal, and this game was tied at 13. But then, with 5 minutes left to play, Jay Cutler scored on a 4-yard touchdown run. Gould added the extra point, and the Bears were up by 7 with the score 20-13. But then, with less than 2 minutes left to play, Teddy Bridgewater hit Stephon Diggs, and Diggs made an amazing spin move at the end for a 40-yard touchdown. Blair Walsh adds the extra point, and this game was tied up at 20 apiece. And then the Vikings would end up getting the ball back as they forced the 3-and-out by the Bears, and Blair Walsh ends up kicking a 36-yard field goal as time expires, and it was a 23-20 victory for the Vikings as they improve to 5-2 as they win their first game in a long time against the Bears. The Bears had won 7 straight in Chicago against Minnesota, and the Vikings get the win. 5-2 now on the season, 2-2 on the road. The Bears now fall to 2-5 on the year, 1-3 at home. So Minnesota with the come-from-behind victory as they get 10 points in the final 2 minutes of this game to win by 3. And it was a tight game for sure. Bridgewater coming up big down the stretch. And in this game, Teddy Bridgewater, 17 of 30, 187 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also had 2 carries for 21 yards. For the Bears, Cutler, 22 of 33, 211 passing yards, and a touchdown. And on the ground, for Minnesota, Peterson, 20 carries for 103 yards. And for the Bears, Langford had 12 carries for 46 yards. Forte left the game due to injury. He had 10 carries for 41 yards and 4 receptions for 28 yards in this game, as he had a total of 69 yards. And for the receivers, Stephon Diggs came up big with that 40-yard touchdown. He had 6 receptions, 95 yards in that touchdown in this game. And Alshon Jeffrey for the Bears, 10 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Let me look at the kickers. Gould was 2 for 3 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points, and that missed field goal ended up being the difference. And for the Bears, or for the Vikings, Walsh 3 for 3, 2 for 2 on the extra points as he was perfect in this game. Then we look at the defense, and on defense, you get the 1 interception by Fuller for the Bears, and that was the only interception in this game. And Hunter had a sack for the Vikings. McPhee had a sack for the Bears. Then we look at the first downs, 18 for the Bears, 17 for the Vikings. We look at third downs, 5 for 12 for Minnesota, 41% converted. 3 for 12 for Chicago, 25% converted. 1 for 1 on fourth down for Chicago. They went for it once. And then the total net yards, 327 for Minnesota, 305 for Chicago. Net rushing yards, 147 for the Vikings, 97 for the Bears. Net passing yards 208 for Chicago, as Cutler was sacked once for a 3-yard loss, and 180 netted through the air for Minnesota, as Teddy Bridgewater was sacked once for a 7-yard loss. We look at the penalties. Each team was penalized 4 times. 38 penalty yards for the Bears, 35 penalty yards for the Vikings. Then we look at the red zone. 1 for 2 for Chicago, 0 for 2 for Minnesota. And the time of possession, 32 minutes and 42 seconds for Chicago, 27 minutes and 18 seconds for the Vikings. And the Bears looked like they were actually going to pull this one out, but Minnesota comes up big in the fourth quarter, scoring 13 points, 10 straight in the final 2 minutes, as they really did it when it came down to go time. When the game was in the balance, Minnesota answered the call, and they get some big plays out of Stephon Diggs. He comes up huge once again, as he is turning into somewhat of a star there in Minnesota. And Bridgewater also, when he had to get it done, he did. He didn't put up big numbers in the game, but he did lead his team to victory in the end. And of course, Blair Walsh with that game-winning field goal. And he was perfect on the day, 3 field goals, 2 extra points, and Minnesota 5-2. So Minnesota 5-2, they're looking really good, and they're in second place in the Central as they trail just the Packers, who are undefeated thus far on the season. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend. Enjoy all the sports.